Good evening and welcome back to 31 Horror Nights. It's October 20th and tonight's movie is It Follows. This is yet another one that I do remember seeing the trailers for when it was being released, and I thought it sounded interesting. Like Oculus and Don't Breathe, this is a very high concept movie. Its biggest draw is its idea, its premise. It's something that's really simple, but very effective. The way it's done in this movie, just the idea is absolutely horrifying. But a good idea on its own can't make a good movie. It's about how it's done. And as you've seen with Don't Breathe and Oculus, it could turn out really well or not so great depending on how it's executed. And speaking of what I thought of both of these movies, if Oculus is on the really good side of things and Don't Breathe almost didn't work, It Follows is pretty much in the middle. I'm giving this one a 7 out of 10. The plot is that there's this creature, monster, demon, ghost, they never specify. They always just refer to it as it, that follows its victims around. It always moves at a walking pace, but it never stops walking. It also seems that it can change forms. It always looks like a person, but it could look like pretty much anybody. It could be man, woman, young, old, whatever. It is slow, but it never stops walking, and if it catches its victims, it kills them. Whoever the victim is can pass the victim into somebody else with sex. It's essentially a supernatural STD. If it actually does manage to kill one of the victims, it will move on to the person who gave them the curse. But they make it very clear that it only follows one person at a time. Because of that, a lot of the victims are pretty eager to screw somebody else and give the curse over to them. This is a very good idea for a horror movie, and the way it's executed, it's done pretty well. The way that they shoot it and explain it and show it, it's a very terrifying idea. There's not a single point where you can actually lower your guard. You know that it's coming at you slowly, but you know that it's always making progress, no matter how far you run. They never really established what would happen if you, got on a plane and flew to another continent. I don't know, will it just swim the entire way? I mean, they do show it swimming at one point. I don't know. Also, only the people that it has followed at some point can actually see it. Everybody else doesn't see anything. It can still affect other people and the surroundings, but it's invisible to the people that it's not following. Let's talk about the characters in It Follows. The characters in Oculus were engaging and clever, while the characters in Don't Breathe were often annoying and stupid. The characters in It Follows, they were very bland, very forgettable. There wasn't really that much to them. Also, the screenwriter is not that great at dialogue. It's not Shyamalan levels of awkward, but it's not great. That essentially means that any type of drama the movie tries to set up that doesn't involve the creature doesn't really work. But considering what exactly the creature is, it provides well more than enough drama to fill up one movie. One really strange thing about It Follows is the cinematography. I said in the Don't Breathe review that I like long takes, but this movie really got carried away with them. There were a lot of takes that lasted almost 2 minutes, and they really just seemed gratuitous and stylistic just for the sake of being stylistic. Sometimes they were actually used well to set up a setting or make things feel uncomfortable, but a lot of times they weren't really there for any reason. The opening shot of the movie is showing a girl walking out of a house, looking around, then going in her car and driving off, and the entire time the camera didn't cut and it was just following her around, and I didn't really get it. There were also quite a few long spinning shots in this movie, and I gotta admit, that was pretty weird. There was a scene where they were at a high school, and it was just spinning around in place. And I guess that what they were going for some of it was that at one point, it was walking up, but then, after it spins around again, you see it closer, which we could have guessed. One thing they did a few times that was sort of hit or miss is that they think that what's walking up is the creature, but it just turns out to be a normal person, and they walk by and they just sort of move on with the next scene. Sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't really work. Also, quick little stupid thing, there's this one character, this girl with glasses, who has, the weirdest thing. It's like a Kindle or a cell phone, but it literally looks like a seashell, and she, reads books on it. I've never seen anything like that before, and it's just sort of there, and it made no sense. Okay, bottom line time. It Follows, for the most part, does make use of its good idea. The characters aren't really that memorable, but it's not really about the characters, it's about the setup. And it works with its setup pretty well. It's not the best thing ever, but I still think it worked. Alright, now let's talk about the spoilers. One thing they did that I really wish that they didn't do was they actually showed what it does when it catches a person. At the opening Kill Girl, you see her like mangled body, like her legs are broken. And that doesn't even jive with what they actually do later on in the movie, where you see it kill something. It like has sex with the person and then they just like die. I think this movie would have been a lot more effective at points if you never actually saw what happens when the creature catches up with somebody. Alright, now let's talk about how it ended. The main character is Jay, a girl who has the curse, and she has a group of friends, and they spend most of the movie trying to run, but one of her friends, a male friend, says that he has a plan, so they go to like a pool, and their plan is to have the creature get in the pool and then like dump a bunch of plugged in electronics into the pool. Like they would lure it into the water with Jay in the pool, but then she would get out and they would dump in and hopefully that would kill it. I mean, they tried shooting it several times and it never worked, so I don't really know why they thought electrocuting it would work, but they didn't even actually try it. The creature comes in and then like unplugs the stuff and throws it at Jay to make her get out of the water, but then it dives in after her. No, actually it doesn't dive in, it gets pushed. But once it's in the water, it like grabs her leg and tries to pull her under, and they shoot at it more times, and they don't actually try the electrocuting thing. And something that the male friend who came up with that was kind of hinting at throughout the entire movie is that he kept like pushing Jay to give the curse to him, which is kind of sleazy. It just really felt like he just kind of wanted to get laid. But after they didn't really try anything at the pool, they've tried nothing and they're all out of ideas. So Jay gives the curse to him, and you see him driving right after that, and it's implied that he had sex with a bunch of prostitutes, and I guess just a way to give the problem to somebody else. That's something in this movie. A lot of the characters just come off terrible because they are very quick to just give this life-destroying curse to somebody else. The movie doesn't actually end with any sort of resolution. It just sort of ends. It ends with Jay and the guy walking down the street holding hands, and behind them you see somebody following them. Now, they never make it clear if that's a regular person or the creature, but I'm just gonna go out on a limb and say that it was the creature. It Follows wasn't exactly a great movie, but it was a good one. And they have toyed with the idea of having sequels, and I really do think there's a lot more they could have done with this premise. According to the Wikipedia page, the sequel might be them trying to like go back one by one with the victims and see how this thing all started. That I think would be very interesting, and I would like to see that if they actually make that movie. But the original it's okay, it's good. I'm giving it a 7 out of 10. It's not the best thing, but there are a lot of things in it that did work. I'll see you tomorrow.